Hi, welcome to Zion Messages. I'm glad you're here and I have a lot to talk with you guys today. And for those that are new, I am excited for you to be here and that we can learn together. I have a lot to talk about and there's so little time. I'm racing the clock because I have one of my kids coming home here soon. My kids had started school today and it's weird because it's January 2nd and there's just a Thursday and a Friday left until the weekend. And I just think they should just start on Monday, but I don't know. I don't know why. And um, many of you might be here and new and watching because you came on over from Watcher Palmer's channel. So I'm glad you're here, and I'm really grateful to him for giving me that shout out and to boost my channel for whatever it's worth. It's for me clearly, as I think I mentioned before, I gave a little intro yesterday, and I try to do my videos once a week. I usually do it on Wednesday or Thursday, but I kind of gave a little intro just to say hi real quick. But I mentioned there, this is a passion project for me. And I feel like it's just me sharing my gems of my life. And I also talk about some of the stuff on my homestead that we've started this last year. Plus, I do have a deep conviction for building Zion right now. I feel like it is super necessary to be someone that, as they would say, enters the chat. Like you're going to enter the chat right now, and you are going to actually be someone who is a pivotal player in bringing communities together, being someone that answers inspiration and is someone that wants to try to do more good in the world, and bringing Zion here now so we can be prepared for Christ coming. And it was very clear to me by God that that's what I need to do. And I'm in a situation right now that it's really interesting where I've moved to a new area and these are all new homes. And it's nice that this community has about 50 little homesteads. They've already started. I'm like one of the last 10 houses to be built here. And I'm really grateful that I found this place. But I still feel like people are welcoming enough, and because they're all brand new and starting. And so I feel like it's this opportunity of mine to seize and to try to do my best. And it's in all the ways possible. And I've been on the other end of it where I wasn't always the best community member, and where I've also seen other people not be that way and welcoming to me. And I know how that feels, where I feel like I'm surrounded by an area where people aren't trying to bring the community closer together. And I feel like, I mean, I have my own opinion, but I feel like inner cities sometimes do that because there's just so many people close together in one spot. It's hard for everyone to really get along when it's not natural for us all to be together so close. So with me growing up this way, as I mentioned yesterday, I really felt like that's how I want to do it, but it can be done anywhere. And that's all that God is hoping for you, is to find your specific way to spread Zion. And for me, being a mother in Zion, and another key point here I want to mention that I've noticed, and God has been good about helping me understand, be very patient. I had kids in my 20s. I'm 33. And when I was in my 20s, I was having kids and young, and I could not think outside myself very much. I tried. I was still a good person, but there's this phenomenon when you are younger, you are just focusing on your family and just trying to survive. And I don't believe in that kind of mindset of trying to survive. I really believe you can have a family and be so busy doing those things and still be someone that is a good neighbor, that actually looks outside of themselves. This whole thought process, I'm just dumbing it down. It's been such a huge thing for me to overcome and understand, and to get over the hurt that I have felt, to be honest. So sharing that story of, I am not from Utah, and I honestly don't have a lot of family from Utah. So with coming here, I was deeply hurt for a long time, especially with having young kids and starting off with being a young mom, stay-at-home mom. I decided not to work, and I've been so blessed and grateful to have that opportunity. But I was so bitter about people in Utah not being so friendly to me because I wasn't in the family circle. But my husband and I had to work on that forgiveness and work on my bitterness. And it's come full circle. And that's what I'm sharing you those earlier days, that I don't need to be a victim. I can be part of that spreading of the Zion And it doesn't matter if we're related or not. In a Utah smaller community where everyone feels like they have everyone, I make family wherever I go. And it's been that way here in the many wards we've been in here in Utah. And we find those other people that are exact same mindset. And that proximity of who you are around is really important. And it's that, of course, online is important, like we're sharing here, but really taking care of those people around you, shepherding them, that you are the steward over them. And ministering, I think when ministering came out, it made sense for me. I know it was really hard for a lot of people, but for me, it clicked because I had already come on this full decade-long learning process that God had to be very patient with me through. And the social media showing that everyone had support. And how am I going to have more kids if I just don't have support? And I have family that live out of state, and it's even hard so that my family that is out of state, they're not as involved and they live their lives a little differently. And so I just sometimes would cry out to God, why am I so alone? Why, if you give me the desire to have children, why do I not have the help? And my husband worked a lot, and I felt very lost and alone. It's interesting. You can not be lonely, but you can be alone. You could feel alone. You could be in a whole crowd. That's that phrase. You could be in a whole crowd, but you still feel alone. And that's how it was. But it's so great how the atonement works and how my thought process came full circle, that I truly believe I needed to enter the chat and not be a victim, and to just work towards building Zion around me in any way I can, and not expecting so much, lowering my expectations. And seeing the good in others, and seeing that what they're going through, they just can't at this time be in a reciprocal friendship, but I can at least bless and help them. And I've definitely been on the receiving end of that. It's my privilege to then help out. I feel like I have a very deep love for young moms in that way, because I've been through that. So if you're not already watching this on 2x speed, you can, because I'm long-winded. And if you really want to, you can do that all over YouTube, and you're able to get through content faster. I'm not saying you have to, but I'm able to get a lot of content through me to bless my life by having 2x speed. So you do that by doing like maybe it'll be on this side, the little settings, and you do the play speed to double time. I've been meaning to share that for a while, but I usually talk about a list of things I'm going to go over, even though I've already gone over a point that I didn't even necessarily remember I was going to talk about. So it's funny how the Spirit works, but maybe I'll go out and show you my rabbits, or soon to be rabbits, in my rabbit area. I'm just so excited to get them, so I just say it right away. So on New Year's, let me put it here. On New Year's, yesterday, I had some family in town, and I really felt like I wanted to put together this chicken coop that I had bought on Amazon. It's a kit. It's like $180, and it's 10 feet by 13 feet. And I felt that I could put bunnies in there, and it even says on Amazon that you can. And I'll grab my sunglasses too. And so, as I've kind of talked about here a little bit before, I want to do a rabbit colony. And I feel like with my desires of doing that, because now I'm on a big chunk of land where I can. Plus I love animals, and I grew up this way with having animals and the fun of it. And also that I'm still kind of a prepper at heart. I think times will get rough, and I'm married to a man who eats tons of meat. How am I going to help him out when maybe crap hits the fan? And so we're getting rabbits, and I've been very grateful for Manti Homestead and all of his meat rabbit videos that he talks, oh, it's really muddy, and that he talks about how his family does it, and he has a pretty big family. And there's just so, I'll talk about it more in the next video and all the reasons like why I do it, I think, but maybe by then I'll have my rabbits. So, which first of all, before I do that, I decided here are all the chicky poos. I decided to finally cage them all in. So I got a T-post driver, and we drove in this 50 feet of fencing. It's honestly not even that big. I want to go over there. It's just so muddy. And made an area for them. It is super warm out here. It's probably about 47 degrees. So here's their little pen now, because they were pooping everywhere. It was endearing at one point, and now it's not. So now they are gonna be in here until we get a bigger pasture back here, and then I can have them run around and have their fun and peck around more than just this. But for a long time, they were just everywhere free ranging, and a lot of people do that where I'm at right now, because it allows for it. People are okay with it. There's no HOA. I just love it. But they are just naughty little things and pooped everywhere, and it's gonna be better as far as having the manure supposedly with bunnies. So here is this cage that we made. It took about 3 hours to put together. I'm not able to show it terribly well. So I still have a few things I need to cut down, like it's zip tied all the way up to here. Of course, I just need to cut this, and we did cut most of it, but it was easy just to put together all the pieces, and it was just like the metal. Whereas the zip tying and putting this chicken wire all over it was not easy. That's what took most of the time. It was, I mean, a 3-hour project. That's awesome. It feels so good, that dopamine hit, that I can get it done in 3 hours. And I had my brothers here to help. So I was really grateful, because I was hosting 2 of my brothers. And my son helped me, which is great. He's 11 and he loves these kinds of things. And yeah, it's a good area. Like, see there? That's gonna be a good amount there for them. And I'm hoping to do like what that guy from Manti Homestead does, where he makes these little burrows for them. And a lot of people do this on YouTube, but I really like his idea of taking an actual cooler and taking a Sawzall and making a hole. And so you make the bucket for their entrance, and you have a hole for them to go through. So I've already done the holes for those buckets, and then you take corrugated pipe to go over to the igloo, where they can keep their little kits and take care of them, and I can kind of go back there and check on them too. And I have I'll have the igloos kind of be on the outside of it, shut closed and tight from predators, but they can just have their fun time just to be bunnies and run around and be more natural rather than in cages. I think it'll be more satisfying for me to sit in there. Of course, not getting too attached, because I do have little girls and they do like fuzzy furry things. But they're actually pretty upset that I'm getting New Zealand's. Those are the best type of meat rabbits. But I'm thinking, oh, that's actually helpful. I know you guys wanted those Angora ones, the really fluffy ones, but these are gonna be for meat. And I'll talk more about more reasons why I like it, as far as the prepping side of things. That it just all around is like an amazing animal to have on your homestead, and especially for if you have a prepper mindset. So that's what I've been doing a little bit and working on. It's kind of my Christmas present to myself. I'm really grateful for it. It's taken some grit to really push through and get it done through some holidays, but I hoping I can keep it up and get them this next week. But as far as some of the other things I want to talk about, and I'll go back and talk about it, I've had a major thought come to my mind over this past month of what God has been expecting of me, and that is to lead. And I don't really want to sometimes. That's why he's teaching me. Isn't that great? He's so patient with us. Here, stay in here, doggy dog. I have an English bulldog. Hey, say hello. He's just handsome. Aren't you handsome? So, it's partly like I said before, I got this new calling as a word organist, and I had to do some stuff with the Christmas program that was kind of more last minute. That was taxing on me mentally, but I got it done, and I was very grateful. And the idea also of, besides leading, and more that I'll talk about with that, is probably talking about this trust versus being loved concept, and expounding a little bit about what Brother Palmer said in his episode, and a little bit more why I love the concept. I think we all do. All of you watching, you leapt for joy in the pre-earth life because of it, so that we can create with God. That's to be trusted, is creating with him, as a spoiler alert. Also finding your purpose right now with all the talk of New Year's resolutions. It's really fun. There's a lot of hype, and I kind of feel it collectively with everyone. And then lastly, men's hearts failing them, and but to heal men's hearts. Specifically, I say men because it's not, I'm actually just going to talk about men, not the concept that it's all men, all women, all people. Because I listened to this podcast from Troy Abels from the Last Dispensation YouTube account, and he had an amazing guest on, and you could just tell he had thought this through, and he'd been through it himself, and he wants to teach and help heal men's hearts, and really understanding what that means, and not shying away from the vulnerability of what men need to help themselves with right now. It was a beautiful message, so I probably will try and link that in the comment below. I won't go in any order, so I'll start. I'll start probably with this idea of to trust, and I'll put you back on here as a tripod. This idea of to be trusted versus loved. So the reason I say this is when we are to be trusted, we finally create with God. He gives us more opportunities to create with him. And maybe I'll start off with this example. And my husband and I were talking about this concept, and he grew up in Oregon, and there's so many churches in Oregon. Like, everyone goes to church there. So he had a ton of evangelical Christian friends, and he was one of the few that graduated from high school in Eugene, Oregon, as a member of the church. But he was surrounded by a lot of course, a lot of hippies, but also a lot of Christian kids. And he had talked about, he noticed when that song I Can Only Imagine came out, and how he's never identified with that song, and how he just felt like, is there something wrong with me? Like, I want to identify with that song, but I can't. It's a good song, and if you like it, I hope this doesn't feel like I'm poo-pooing on it, but for you. But this idea that yes, I can only imagine, like, how good it will feel to see the Savior and see and understand everything when we finally are with him. I guess because my husband also feels we both have slightly different views, and that's what's great. Opposites attract some ways, or we bring a different perspective, but he wants, I think, like I do, I want to create with God or with the Savior. They're both dual in purpose. So I don't necessarily just want to sit and bask in that glory of it all and be satisfied that way. I think God knows, in my slightly type A personality, I want to say I'm a total type A, that I want to do a lot of things. I'm curious. I want to be like him. I love him, and he probably saw that within me, and he probably sees that within you. Someone that wants to rise above this fallen world right now and to create, because you are now trusted. You maybe have been someone that has gone through the temple, and you're really sticking to your covenants right now. You're doing all the things right. So you're looking for opportunities, just like the New Year is talking about, to create more with him. It's our highest level of trust from God, and he trusts us, because as Brother Palmer talked about, that you have been consistent probably thus far, and that's how we trust the Lord and how we trust God. He is perfectly consistent. There is never error in his love or help or ability to save us and get us through, because he's been always consistent with us, and that we are someone to not just bask in the glory, but we are to be his servants. And that's part of it also. Creating is, as you create with the Lord, okay, Lord, I want to curate this day according to you. I also have some ideas. Let's do this together, and really getting specific with him on what that looks like. and consecrating your life. So I feel like, sorry, my dog, he's a little noisy. He's a snarly little bulldog. But he wants to do that with you. So as I'm trying to be very intentional with this New Year's, knowing that I want to involve him in that process, and very intentionally, that I'm not just to be loved, I'm looking to be trusted now. I know he loves me. And yeah, I think that's what I was hoping to say. I really liked what he said, Brother Palmer, with the idea of that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. And he pointed out this idea that it doesn't say that God so trusted the world that he gave his only begotten son, because it is, as long as we do the work to repent, it is a free gift to be saved by our Savior. You can knock it over. Okay, you're gonna go out there. I'll shut the door. But I just loved what he said. I thought it was so spot on, of just really helping me understand that our church is different. We really do, and we're not just looking to be different just because it's nice to be different and we think we're special. It's just God, he has so much promises. He has so many promises for us, and he loves us so much that he wants to give his all to us. And if we are to search for it, we will find it. So that's kind of my idea, as I mentioned here. And I can only imagine songs. So I'm kind of trying to find another song. If you know of any, let me know, of a song that talks more about that creation and trust with him. I feel that the most, and as many other mothers that may be listening, I feel that the most with being a mother. I am just living the best life being a mom and a wife. I could not ask for anything more. It's been so hard. I guess I'm finally at a point in my time. My youngest is 6, so I'm kind of, it's a little bit easier right now, but I did have her start kindergarten full day today. She was doing half day for this first half of the school year, and then we talked about it with her. Do you want to start and move forward to doing full day? And she was hesitant, but she also, I was finding I needed more time, and it was hard to go back and forth. So as part of the creation for me, trying to figure out what I'll do for my new year goals and resolutions. I don't necessarily, the past several years, I haven't been writing down like resolutions. I've been writing down something called a do something list. I got the idea from Monica Packer. I got the idea from Monica Packer, and she it's her business, her whole channel, or she's not on YouTube. She's mainly on Instagram. She might be on YouTube, but it's about progress. Her podcast is mainly how she's become popular, and she talks about, just instead of just writing down these goals that you just feel like you'll never get to, and you honestly just kind of complicate yourself, just writing down a list of things you're going to do. I honestly think it's just another way of saying a bucket list, but I did kind of write this bucket list of things I did last year, and I did it the year before and the year before. So I think I'm on 3 years of doing it. I plan on doing it this year too. And you write down about 15 things that I kind of can see that I'm going to do anyway, but then I also will push myself. Like, for example, my bucket list here, or do something list, she calls it a DSL. I wanted to do more hikes. I wanted to read the Saints book, but I didn't, so I'm just gonna scratch that. I tried, and that's part of it. She says most all the time you make this list and you are not going to finish it, and that's okay. Maybe I'll put this on a little post on the YouTube community tab, or I'm actually pretty active on Instagram. I'm going on tangents. I'll talk about that in a second, but not totally active on Instagram. It's just too much to pull me in over there. But that's where I've been the longest, I guess I should say. And that's where I feel like I'm able to get something done because I don't feel like I'm beating myself up or feel discouraged that I didn't do it. It's and I just do it. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but I usually choose a word of the year. So I've been doing that longer. I've been doing that for about 6 years, and now I'm going to continue, and I've loved it. I've had words like abundance and trust and brave as past words of the year. And so this year I've not quite figured it out, but I am in that thought process, and maybe as I've been talking with you, I'm thinking more about it. And God just really clearly showed me through December, I am to lead in some shape or form. And then with this happening at the very beginning of the year, with getting triple amount of my subscribers, which it doesn't matter, subscribers don't matter, but it definitely boosted some activity and some conversation, and hopefully I'm bringing some of my light to you, and whoever else that wants to see this later on, and then getting that Oregon calling, and that's kind of scary, especially getting it during the holidays. And I had a lot of people come and visit and host. I was hosting a lot, so, and I have the kind of family that when they come, they kind of look to me to decide what we're doing, and it's a lot of work to be a leader and be the one that makes the decisions, executes the plans. And yes, a lot of moms do that, but I actually am in a marriage where my husband does that quite a bit too, and I'm very grateful for him. So it's nice to have that time off sometimes, especially when he's here. But it's, I found those opportunities where like I need to step up. I could feel clearly that I'm the one that needs to step up and decide what we're doing, and also standing up for what will be the best thing to do, not just something that is, just watching more movies or screens, but we're actually going outside. Like it's just so much more fulfilling to choose the best wholesome recreational activities. So going back to what I was saying about Instagram, I've been on there a lot longer than YouTube, and I have a lot going on there comparative to here from my past, and then it's just more of my day-to-day life. So if you want to go over there, you can. It's just my same handle, Laura Cragen, over there, but YouTube doesn't necessarily it's not so much of a interpersonal, like on the stories where you can click and kind of see something within a 24-hour period what I've been doing, but with YouTube I'm able to have longer content and longer form videos, and I feel like I know more people on Instagram, but on YouTube I'm able to reach more people. I'm not really reaching any more people on Instagram anymore. The out of the two, to grow, the place to grow easier is YouTube. Of course, YouTube's a bigger platform, so I just feel like I am feeling a little bit dual personality of like, I'm over there and I'm kind of talking about more day-to-day things, but then here I'm talking more seriously, and it's longer and deeper, which is great. But anyway, there's just a different flavor, and it's hard to really pull everything and put one on the other, and I don't have a lot of time, and this is just a passion project. So hey Emmett, I'm gonna say hi to my son real quick. Hey, I'm just finishing up. I'm just finishing up, okay? A movie. So yeah, I didn't realize it went that fast. It's like I guess it's already time, but I do want to finish up these last few things. So what was I going to say next? I think, I really have to talk about that podcast with men's hearts failing them. And maybe it'll tie in right with this last one too, and I will be good. I think you guys will be good too, because it's getting longer. But this podcast, I'm so grateful I listened to it. I have felt for a while, and I've, of course, being married to a man, and he's talked about it too, that sometimes we're observing right now that men's hearts are failing them. Of course, on the extreme side of things, suicide rate is much higher for men. More women, I think, have more attempts or failed attempts with suicide attempts than men do. And I can even say that as a true fact, with my husband being a firefighter paramedic, he does go on those calls, and he'll tell me sometimes, never mentioning who they are, but that there are women that mainly call for the help, but they weren't going to totally follow through with it. But it seems that for men, they follow through with it to the end. So that sounds really serious. I'll get back to this beautiful idea of how we can help, and how men, we can help, but also mainly the Savior helps men heal their hearts. And I just felt, as I was listening to it, I felt very passionate about it. Knowing my son becoming a young man that he is, and my husband, and things that he has to go through, and what I try to support him through. I have many brothers, and I also have, they're basically like my nephews, but they're my cousins, and they're friends with my kids, and I have a bunch of those kids because I'm particularly close with one. I do have one family in Utah that we're close with, and that I just am so grateful that they're here, and it's my aunt and her kids, and she's like a friend to me. And she has 5 boys, and so, and they're all younger kids, like 16 to 5. And so I sent that to her. I sent this podcast to my husband, and this whole concept, this guy set the tone very clearly because you could tell he had gone through it, and he had understood that this is a serious problem right now. And you could see in pop culture even that there aren't as many there are a lot of heroine girl stories of empowerment, but not a lot of the men as much. Or he explained it starting that with this concept that you see the opposites happening a lot, that there's the Homer Simpson concept or guy out there that's just funny and just kind of, he's just good for him. He has a good heart. He's trying, and he's just kind of the confident idiot. And my husband loves comedy, and he always can point out in most movies, there's always that one confident idiot in most shows. And you just love that character, and he's so endearing, and he's funny. I would say even my husband is considered that, and that's his kind of humor. But then there is the opposite extreme, that they are just the Marvel tough guys that are just super buff, ripped guys that just are not relatable to probably the average dude. And my husband is saying that too. As I explained, he's like, yeah, I totally could see that. And that a lot of times, and actually all the time, most guys are in the middle somewhere. That it's, they have to figure out they're trying to figure out what their identity is, and it's not necessarily one or the other. And our world loves to polarize and find that extreme from one side to the other, and we're way too complex for that to just be on one camp or the other. Me as a woman saying that, I know I'm too complex on the feminine side to be just the feminist Kardashian girl, versus all the way on one side to just a girl that just doesn't do anything and expects men to do things for her, or is really, really down on herself and the way she looks. Like I know I'm in the middle, and I know all of us are in the middle, both genders. So we have to figure out, okay, what's actually our identity in how God sees us, and that we are children of God, and rising up to the occasion. And also seeing that that men, he talked about how men need a battle to fight, adventure to live, and a beauty to love. And I think it's the same for women. We need the same thing, except I need a man to love. And so then you finally find that true purpose. So for me, and that's how I've been explaining here, my cause to fight is to build Zion, and doing that within my own family and hopefully my community around me, and preparing for Christ, really capturing what God has talked about, or sorry, President Nelson has talked about, God showing him that we are to gather Israel. And for me, I don't identify with that verbiage as well, maybe being more of my millennial self, but I have translated it for me to building Zion, and that it's in essence the same thing, that we are to bring people into the gospel of Jesus Christ, having them understand what the pure essence of the gospel is, and not looking back, knowing this is actually what's going to bring me the greatest fulfillment. And as far as an adventure to live, that is an adventure to do that and to fight that battle. But as far as my more particular hobby, it's to do this homestead thing and to be out here. It's taken a long time to figure this all out, and I've talked about it in other past episodes, and God has been so good. He's so good to help me make this happen over time. I didn't push it onto my family. I tried to find what worked, and there's just a whole story with it, right? And God really cares about where you live and what people you need to be around and where I'm going to raise my family. And probably this will be the place probably where I'll be when Christ comes, whether I'm alive or not, or whatever that is. I'm not really moving anytime soon. That was really rough to move all that way and all the packing. So that men's heart's failing them, though. I loved how he was so vulnerable. He was a host. He was hosted by Troy, and you could tell he carried this sense of wisdom, that he has figured it out and he knows he is worth more, and that this narrative right now is trying to paint and demasculinize men, and he knows he's not that way, and it's not to the extent where he needs to be a brute and be rude. He is not to be someone that just stands for actually maybe the criticism and abuse from women. And women can be really rough on men, and I'm so glad I'm not part of any dating scene. I've heard that can be hard because women are really looking for the perfect. But most men are in the middle, and they are children of God, and they are really struggling sometimes. And I've seen it firsthand with men in my life, and I love them for it. It's all okay to struggle at times, but it's what they do about it and how they can pull themselves out that matters. And we have to sometimes help some of them because obviously the mental health is really hard on them right now. And when I was in my rehab, I talked a little bit about that, but I was in a rehab several years ago for my mental health, and I became close with this one gentleman in particular, and he retired. He's not a member of the church, but he was at one point. And he, or at least not active, I'm not sure exactly, but he said he turned to alcohol because he couldn't handle that huge change, and it finally became something where he needed to get help. And it was so beautiful to see that he got help, and I got to become friends with him at the center. And he was, for me, it was more of a I didn't have any addictions, but I was there for my mental health just as everyone else was, and they may have had addictions or not. And it was just really beautiful that we all came together, and he helped, and he was vulnerable enough, and he ended up being a strength to many of the other people there because he did have some of it figured out because he was older. And I think he's not always people figure out when they're older, but he just had gone through a rough patch, and he knew he needed to change, and having that confidence within yourself to do that, to have that change. And he was wonderful. He helped me so much. I just love that guy. So probably to end with this idea of the contention within yourself, it ties really well with the men's hearts failing them, that I had talked a lot about in this past few videos too, about contention and how I really want to avoid contention at all costs. Because conflict does not necessarily mean contention. And so if you're standing up for something that matters and you're being firm, but you're not having a contentious spirit, that's good. But my brother that came and visited, he was in Sunday school with me, and he had mentioned this really cool this concept. He said it was given to him by God. He said he was reading the scriptures in the celestial room, and he has that inner conflict a lot. And he had read where the Savior talked about contention is of the devil. But we always think about it being contention with whoever else we're interacting with. But we are also being very contentious with ourselves, and we're doubting ourselves, we're gaslighting ourselves, we're very we would never say the things that we say to ourselves to a friend. but we still do it to ourselves. But we have to love others as ourselves. And so he had shared, as a visitor coming to my Sunday school, in my ward, coming to our Sunday school, that he had learned that. And there were many people afterwards that came up to him and said they were very grateful that he had mentioned that, because it's I think it's a hidden meaning there, that Christ hopes for us to understand that we are also not to have contention within ourselves, but to have peace and love towards ourselves, be patient and understanding that we are human, we make mistakes, and we're not going to beat ourselves up enough to finally do better or change or whatever that looks like. So I thought that was wonderful. And I am to be a peacemaker within myself. So those are my thoughts. And I think that's all I have here. Yeah, it was really, I guess I'll mention, I did, as far as entertainment goes, I sometimes mention little things that I learned about for entertainment. That while my family was visiting, they do like anime, and they like video games, and I love them for it. I of course have my opinions on how much they do, but I am just the older sister. I'm not gonna boss them around maybe like I used to when I was younger. But they blessed my life by bringing in their ideas into my home, and having my kids watch a couple of these beautifully done anime movies that were very wholesome, just beautiful. And then maybe you've heard of them. I mean, there's one that's very popular, and even my husband knew about it. For as cool as he is, like he doesn't know anime, I thought, but he said he knew this one. It's called My Neighbor Totoro, and it's a really sweet movie, and it's beautifully done. And the art, seems like every scene is just a painting, and the story behind it is just very pulls your heartstrings, very sweet, wholesome, and that I felt very confident to watch it with my 6-year-old and my 8-year-old and my 11-year-old. Of course, my 11-year-old probably likes to have a little more action in there, but as we were just sitting there, and I was just thinking about, looking around, just thinking, this is really great. It's not necessarily my first choice. I mean, it's still I have still my own idea of being more adult and wanting to have some drama and action too. But as far as for children, it was beautiful. And there's this idea that things are skibbity. I've been talking about it with my kids a lot, and how I don't want to be having them watch skibbity stuff. And the first time I really noticed the idea of, if you don't know what skibbity is and you're listening to this, it came from some sort of video or game on the internet, and now it's turned into its whole genre. I feel like that's fast paced, it's nonsensical, and it's just, it rots your brain. It's not bad stuff, but it's just random things and people yelling and screaming and being silly and funny here, and then just randomly bursting into a Tourette's over here. Like, it's nonsensical swiping of stuff that kids find it funny, and then they sometimes create actual videos and movies that are that way these days. Like, the first time I noticed it, like I was saying, is the Lego movie. That's, I think, the first, for me, that's the first time I really noticed it. I watched it and I was just like, that's way too loud, way too fast paced. I don't like it. It's way too witty. It's just not, it's a little bit mischievous, I guess. It takes away some of the wholesome out of what childhood should be, of curiosity and love, and being someone that is a good person, trying to stand up for a good thing. And yes, some of these, that video still stands up for some good things too, but it's way too tucked in behind all the crazy chatter in front of it all. And so I think that is maybe one way that Satan is still trying to distract kids and people right now, is just, it's not going to be crazy addictions and going out and breaking all the commandments, but it's going to be distractions of things that just demean your spirit overall, things that are not good, are good. What is it? The article of faith. Praiseworthy. I can't even think of it right now. we seek after all things that are good, right? I've been talking too much because I can't even think, but you know what I'm talking about. Article Faith number 13. It's not going to come to me right now, but you know what I'm saying. So we seek after those things that are all good. And that was in a place I didn't think so, because I had my own mindsets on what anime was, Japanese anime, and that it's just kind of different and weird. And I actually grew up liking Pokemon. I'm young enough that it was the first time Pokemon came out that I actually really liked it, and I collected the cards and stuff. And that was cute and fun for its time too, but it's evolved into kind of weirder stuff. And I think it's the same as anything in our industry here in Hollywood. We do have some beautiful things. They're tucked away, but we also have the very drastic, terrible things. Just I think in their culture. I've noticed even with South Korea, they have really beautiful things too. I feel like they're a little bit more wholesome. Some of these cultures that do have more of these values, where here in America we're going against the covenant of keeping the commandments as a whole, that are more, it's a moral decline now overall for especially with what we consume and what's in our minds, what's in people's minds. And with this anime, I just thought it was so beautiful. And it's called, so yeah, My Neighbor Totoro. And another one that we saw was Kiki's Delivery Service. And it was really cute. We saw that just last night. And of course, we had to like buy and rent it for a few dollars on Amazon. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share. And I didn't realize I was going to share that part of it. But it's been a big conversation with my kids. So anyway, I better go. Thanks for watching, but it's been a long time and I think he needs me. All right, have a great day. Bye.